Welcome to this next episode of the Beloved Miracles Couples Project. Today we are reaching from Norway to Noosa, Queensland, Australia. Hello, Sue and Ivan.
Hi.
Let me introduce you guys. Sue and Ivan have been married almost 36 years. They've had several businesses together during that time, of which most were in the finance industry. Sue started out as a CPA and was also the CEO of the company that brought international teachers to Australia, including Robert Kiyosaki. Ivan has a diverse business background, including being a farm machinery dealer. He now finds commercial property investments for clients, and he and Sue run a mortgage business from their home. They have grown-up kids and some grandkids. So Sue and Ivan, where does your story begin?
The young one can start.
Okay, we met a year before we got married, actually, so going on for 37 years ago. And we actually met through a personal development course we had done, not together, but it was the first personal development course I ever did, and Ivan had done the same course. And they had a network of people. And we got introduced via someone that was in that network of people. And yeah, so we met through that. And it wasn't love at first sight, for me at least.
Thanks.
But Ivan was persistent. I thought he was lovely, but he lived in a country town I was from Perth, the capital of Western Australia. Ivan lived in a fairly remote country town, and I just went, this could never work. But here we are all these years later, and it's worked with its ups and downs like any relationship, obviously. But yeah, that's where it started.
We're still here together.
Yeah.
Ivan, you did a good sales job there. You did whatever it took.
Yes. It was a bit different to selling trucks and tractors, though.
Yeah, so the first 5 and a bit years of our married life, I moved to the country town. We had a house right on the ocean. I didn't hate it like I thought I would. You know, it was a nice place, but it was a little remote for me. But yeah, we had a good life down there, actually, a nice life. And then the business that Ivan was running was a farm machinery dealership, and an American parent company that got into financial trouble and went into liquidation. So our business was sort of obsolete overnight. And so I convinced Ivan to move back to Perth with me. And I went back to accounting. We had a 2-year-old child. I mean, Ivan had 3 kids when I married him. So then we had a child together and a 2-year-old. And my dream of being a stay-at-home mum was like, went through because there wasn't internet then. You know, you didn't do an online business like so many young people can now. And so I went back.
What year? Can you give us a time frame? What year were you when you guys first met?
We met in 1980.
Okay.
And yeah, so this was 1986, beginning of 86, we moved back to Perth. Yeah, I went back into accounting, and Ivan decided to become a financial planner and did the study. And anyway, got thrown into that. And long story moving forward, ultimately the guy that he was working for and I was working with a bit of a partnership in the accounting practice, we decided to do financial planning in a big way. And Ivan was the one with the sales background. We were all accountants, you know, bean counters. And so anyway, we ended up building that business to what, 40 staff, I guess?
Something like that.
Yeah.
You guys know how to adapt, you know, right? Initially to each other, adapt to new environments, as you said, Sue, to transition,
Yeah.
and flexible, and then the career changes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really curious, Ivan, like what did you do to win this woman's heart? Do you have any early advice for a man who?
I was just me. My background was very simple education. The few senior years I did was by correspondence. My father had a business which he'd grown from just himself as a plumber to having school bus run, fuel depot, etc., in country town, which I sort of started working in while I was still going to school. We then had an international harvester dealership, trucks, tractors, farm machinery, etc., as well as being the local garage, RAC or NRMA or whatever you call it. So I had whilst I never really had a profession, I had a great training by my father in all parts of that sort of business.
But you're a good salesman. You didn't say no from me. You stayed.
Yes, along the way we became international harvester dealers as well, which is where I got more and more into the sales. Up until there, it had purely been on service, pumping petrol in the old-fashioned pumps initially, and fixing punctures and all those sort of things, to then going full out. And then along the way, we purchased a business in the neighbouring town, which happened to be on the coast in Western Australia, on the south coast, a place called Esperance. You may have heard of it. From there, I continued with the trucks and farm machinery. But our major dealership was International Harvester Company, as Sue said, which basically closed the door. So I had to start afresh to earn some money.
Got it.
Which is when I got into financial planning. And
That's
then that finished up in quite.
You're moving fast, but I almost have to bring back and just highlight a couple things, because to a man like me, the richness was in your first words. You were just being who you were. Yeah, especially in 2017, it just seems as if and especially online, right, with these virtual worlds, social media, who are we, right? Like answering that question, you had that, right? So who Sue met was like the real you. And I got to commend you and thank you for mentioning that just now, because it's a rich reminder that we have to start by being who we are. And then I love it, right? The family business, born and raised in it, following your papa's footsteps, and then it grows and it matures, but then you had to let it go. That must have been a humbling experience.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't have a trade or anything at that point in time. So Sue was back to work, earning the money or at work. And I had to find a way to contribute my part to the.
And I think, Tim, from my perspective, he was so frightened because that's all he'd ever done, the family business. And as you say, letting it go. And I had to be there rock solid for Ivan to convince him that he would be able to do something else. And there's been quite a few times in our lives when that's changed around, but one of us has always been the strong one, therefore the other one, no matter what we've been through in life, I think.
Yeah. Sure.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sue, for adding that, right? I mean, because I was going to say the word terrifying, but us men, we don't usually admit that, right? We don't cry, we're afraid, but that would be terrifying, because if you're wired like me, you're the provider, the protector for your family, and suddenly that's removed. I mean, you're out of the job. It's like, whoa, what do I do next? And I have some story along those lines when I was an expat here in Norway, just in a new system, new language, new culture. Those things were taken from me. So I can relate to the terror of that when my son was first born. Systems. If I bring that word into this, could you guys identify where in your timeline you started noticing systems being a part of what you were building together?
When we brought in. Yeah. Okay. When we built our financial planning business, we ended up with 40 sort of staff and no real systems. It sounds ridiculous. I know there was some systems, but not whatever. So we became slaves to our business, which is pretty common in brick and mortar traditional businesses, I think. We were always at the office, it was just And we never had real vacations. Like we had a week here and there, but we couldn't really go away. And I think it was when we first met Robert Kiyosaki, like 25 years, maybe more ago, and did one of the courses he was teaching. This is before he wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he kept saying that if you haven't got a business that works without you, you haven't got a business. And we started going, okay, what do we do? So we ended up employing a couple of different people over the time to come in and
coaches.
Yeah. And what Brian did, the thing, all the systems, like document all the systems, and all the financial planners had a way of working. And so that was the first time we really put in a system that worked, and accountability and different positions and everything else. And at the end of that process, we went to the States for 6 weeks and hardly contacted the office. And it was the first real holiday we had together. So tripping around your home country. So yeah, systems are vital, because Kiyosaki's words are, are right. If you've got a business without systems, you really haven't got a business. You just become, what are you, like a
slave?
Yeah.
And was that different from the running of the International Harvester business with your family before, Ivan? Would you even recognize that were systems operating there as well?
Very minimal, but there were some, yeah. I mean, technology wasn't what it is, or has been developed over time, as far as we've finished up with online support for things like spare parts and all of that type of thing. So yeah, there were systems in the business, there's no question about that. And we had quite a big trucking business as well, actually, where we delivered fuel from basically the west coast of Western Australia to the South Australian border, which is quite some distance. And that was another aspect to the business, I guess you'd say. So it was managing different sectors, different things.
Systems needed a 2.0, it sounds like, with the finance business that you were in with Robert Kiyosaki. It's almost like the awareness of systems that your previous business offered you needed an upgrade, didn't they? Somehow taken to the next level to free you guys up from the work hard and the sweat of your brow type living to something that allowed you more freedom.
But through that, there was also the need to conform to the rules and regulations and what's the word I'm looking for? The requirements under licensing in the financial services area is quite strict. So you've got to be
compliance.
Yeah, the compliance side of it is very rigid.
Okay, so that was
another aspect of the business.
Systems to have to meet those requirements. What else changed for you guys? Now you're able to travel more freely and be not so burdened by the business. Can you mention anything else that started to change as you became more aware of and implemented more and more systems?
I think the internet. I think the internet in and of itself, like the internet has allowed us to do so many more things. We were always tied to going to an office, having face-to-face meetings with clients, all of that stuff, where now we still run a finance business, but we work in a resort sort of holiday, beautiful little town in the north of Australia, north coast of Australia, east north of Australia, and we work out of our home, and we have Skype meetings with clients, and you have face-to-face occasionally, but mostly it's done like this. And again, you're in Norway, we were in Australia. Hey, that was unthinkable when I grew up. I mean, I lived in the UK for a year before I met Ivan, and we used to send letters through the mail that took 6 weeks from the UK to Australia. I mean, you know, the world's changed. So I think the internet, and if you have a good system to use the internet, it changes the world.
Absolutely. And that was one thing we did in the business. Our head mechanic actually was a keen pilot, and he and I purchased a plane, a 4-seater plane in there, and he used to fly out to the servicing, but also we'd use it for trips to the city, etc., etc. We had communication between all of our service vehicles, the fuel truck vehicles, the plane, my car. Yeah, so there was technology used in that whole situation.
It's a fascinating timeline that we've touched on here in such a brief time to span such a distance of experience that you guys have had. And I know even recently the challenges that come up to kind of bring it full circle, which won't be easy because it feels like it deserves a lot of respect. And in 15 or 20 minutes here, we'll do the best we can. What advice could you guys source to other couples in this more modern day, I'll call it 2017, if that's modern, of couples building together at this, what's the word? The implementation of systems the way we are using them today, and probably right on the cutting edge of more and more virtual reality. Any advice that you guys would offer to couples building together?
I think communication obviously is important in any relationship, whether it's a couple or whatever. So communication is fundamental. For us, it was working out, and this goes way back to working together, like what are our strengths? What are our individual strengths? Who's best to do what? And just nutting all that out and supporting each other. I think for us, it's been also really, really important, and we weren't always good at this by any means, is to have some sort of separation between us as a couple and the business. Because for too many years, we allowed business to overshadow our life, and we would be having dinner, talking business, and, so then we had to, we started to implement things like date nights. We don't talk about business. And, now we're really clear on these times that are just us time. And, that was particularly more challenging when you've got a young family and you're balancing working together, family, business, and business takes over. That's, not good. But I think it's beautiful to be able to work together, but you have to work on that relationship, your working relationship, but also on you as a couple, and make some sort of division, and remember that you're a couple first.
Now you reminded me of where we started, right? The self-development, right? You guys were involved, and that's actually what brought you together. So I'm curious in what you just said, Sue, and I'm sorry, Ivan, if I interrupted you there. How has the self-development actually evolved from what brought you together originally to the advice that you're sharing today?
Oh, Tim, we've been involved in it our entire life, really, together.
Sure.
And done all sorts of stuff. I mean, the amount of books, I'm more of a reader than Ivan. Ivan will listen to, audio, etc., and learn that way. We've done so many seminars together, and done. I mean, I've worked in the company as that promoted Robert Kiyosaki and others, and a lot of the speakers that we promoted were, personal development as well as, and Robert is very much about personal development as well as the money advice that most people know him for. So we've been around it forever, and I think, and we've often said that if only one of us were on that path, I think it would be really difficult.
Oh, absolutely.
If one person's into being the best version of themselves they can be and growing, and the other person thinks it's all BS, which happens at times, that would be too hard for me as an individual. And you? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and sorry if it's sort of going here, there, and everywhere where I am. My education actually stopped at year 10, my formal education. But then in the ongoing years, I got involved in studying and becoming the qualified financial planner as I was, which went on to the business. But as a part of that I attended a lot of functions in the eastern states with the various fund managers, and was involved in the industry associations to the point of being on the national board of one of them. So it gave me a whole different perspective, if you like, to what I grew up with in the earlier part of my life, if that makes sense. And having Sue as a qualified CPA, as a partner, and in business and in personal, made life a whole lot easier for me.
And I think we both share the view that learning never stops. I can remember honestly thinking I would get to a point where I would be wise and know it all, and I wouldn't have to learn any more stuff.
What's changed?
But you know, hey, it never ends. I think while we're in a human body on the planet, we continue to learn, and we continue to have perhaps challenges in our life and learning experiences, and yeah,
Sure.
And you know, the personal development one, I mean, last year I had a major health challenge. And for me, the most difficult thing in the beginning was, how did I create this? Because I do believe I create my life. So I started to beat up on myself big time. Like, I've created this. What have I done with everything I know? I've done all these courses, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't have this, you know? And it was with some help from people that we both know, you know, are around on, in our online world, that was saying, don't be so tough on yourself, you know, like it's, yeah. And I realized how tough I was on me. So part of my personal development personally is, over the last year more than any time, is to, hey, just be gentle, you know, like just be gentle on me. And if I have a bad day, I have a bad day. But yeah. But it's played a huge part, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to interrupt you. Is there any more? Because this is so, it's so, there's a word, it's peaceful is the word. I mean, you guys have established a certain amount of peace of mind, even to face major challenges. And yet with the self-development, with the together that you each share, and the strength of that, as you said, sometimes leaning on one being stronger than the other. I'm in awe, to be honest with you. Any more advice that we should make sure is shared right now?
Yeah, from my perspective, and we've been through business crashes, we've been through losing stuff, we've made money again, we've, you know, had ups and downs, and we thought they were the major challenges that we'd ever have to face and go through, and we've come through. And we used to always look at each other and say, hey, we've got our health. And then just over a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer of the esophagus, and it wasn't a pretty diagnosis in the beginning, but we found a great surgeon, we found a whole bunch of people to support it. And last year, I think for me, and I probably can speak for both of us, but Ivan can say what's real for him, like all the business challenges in the world went into insignificance than being alive. You know, to me, that was the biggest challenge we had. And for me personally, I learned to appreciate another day on the planet. Watching a butterfly, you know, I used to say write gratitude journals and do gratitude and everything else, but it's a whole new level now, Tim. You know, it's like I am so grateful, and our love for each other became richer and richer through that experience. When you're not sure that how long you've got together, hey, the small stuff doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. And I've learned in that last year what really matters. And it's not some of the stuff I used to get, you know, annoyed about, or it's just rubbish, really. So yeah. You?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm rather speechless right now too, Ivan. Oh my goodness. As I close these, I mean, it's together we overcome, and that those words just absolutely, that's the most I can offer to what I've just heard. I mean, it's beautiful, it's profound, it's deep, it's broad, it's wide, it's high. I mean, it's everything. You guys have painted such a full picture of adventure and difficulty, challenge, but overall the theme running through it is clearly to continue this personal growth, this personal self-development, the communication, self-awareness of your strengths and finding out how to complement each other, honoring the individuality. I heard that as well, that while we are together, we also still have some strength of our own to be nurtured. Yeah, allowing the separate space you mentioned, having a personal life, and then separating the business from the personal as well, so that those two have a chance to find their own strength. I could go on and on. I mean, those are just a few of the notes I've taken. Again, I'll ask one last time if there's anything more you wish to share before I wrap it up for us for now.
I think I'm right.
No, I think we'll no doubt think of other things after this. But
No.
I think, yeah, I think that's covered it up pretty much.
Fantastic, you guys. Well, I'll say it one more time just because it's the best I have of words, but I believe what we've done here really reaches to this level that I refer to as the heart. The heart speaks with words the mind knows nothing of. So we've done the best we can with the words. I'll add mine to that. Together, truly together, as you guys have exemplified here, we all have an opportunity to overcome. So for now, I'll say goodbye from Norway.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye.
Been nice talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you.